Hi everyone, in this video we will understand the underlying principles of the United States of America on which it was founded. These principles led to this nation being a great nation as it is today. Let's understand the three values that America was founded on. Starting off with the first one, which is called the E pluribus unum. It is a Latin word for a term meaning from many to one. It broadly means that today the US is one nation of people of many different backgrounds and beliefs. America does not care about your national or ethnic origins, generally speaking. It is also called the land of immigrants. US is the country today where it's much easier to assimilate into the culture than to assimilate into any other country's culture. And it's partly due to its culture of pursuit of excellence. Immigrants from all around the world aspire to live the American dream for themselves or for their kids. And it's also partly due to the culture's familiarity because of news, movies, TV shows, music, and social media presence, and also partly due to being a democratic nation. And again, also partly due to the freedom it provides. It lets you be who you want to be with less to no judgment. Freedom is integral to the US, and that's why the next value is called liberty. US is one of the top freedom nations on this earth. It is also called the land of the free. It provides equal rights to all people under the Constitution. I will briefly explain some of the rights next. First is right for freedom of speech and religion under the First Amendment. This first right is mentioned in the Constitution of many countries around the world, but whether it's implemented in that same fashion is questionable to say the least. Second is right to bear arms and guns to protect oneself from the tyranny of the government or other unlawful acts under the Second Amendment. Lots of people around the world target the US for allowing citizens to bear arms because they hear about shootings and all those things. The underlying issue of shootings is almost 100% due to mental health, drugs, and family issues of the person responsible. But that's a topic to discuss at a later time. But this is actually one of the rights that protects all other rights in the US. And it obviously keeps the government in check from gaining excessive power control over their citizens. The third is right to say no to a government inspection unless a specific search warrant is presented, and it is saved under the Fourth Amendment. Fourth is the right to a grand jury for court cases to avoid biased judgment from the judge or government. And I'll share one other right which you probably are familiar with. It's the right to no self-incrimination. Both fourth and fifth rights fall under the Fifth Amendment. Now let's see some clips to help you understand better.
I need you.
If this thing goes to trial, I'm going to be taking the fifth. So if you need another Donna at the firm, just have anybody say I decline to answer, because that's all you're going to get out of me anyway.
Donna.
I decline to answer.
This is the greatest witch hunt in the history of our country. There has never been another president, or perhaps even another politician, who has been persecuted, harassed, and in every other way unfairly treated like President Donald J. Trump. What Letitia James has tried to do the last number of years is a disgrace to the legal system, an affront to the New York State taxpayers, and a violation of the solemn rights and protections afforded by the United States Constitution. She developed. I once asked, if you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment? I was asking that question. Now I know the answer to that question. When your family, your company, and all the people in your orbit have become the targets of an unfounded, politically motivated witch hunt, supported by lawyers, prosecutors, and even the fake news media, you really have no choice. We cannot permit a renegade and out-of-control prosecutor to use this investigation as a means of advancing her political career. New York deserves better, and this country deserves better. This is a vindictive and self-serving fishing expedition, the likes of which this country has perhaps never seen before. If there was any question in my mind, the raid on my home 2 days ago, Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, Florida, by the FBI, just 2 days prior to this deposition, think of it, wiped out any of that uncertainty. I have absolutely no choice because the current administration and many prosecutors in this country have lost all moral and ethical bounds of decency. Anyone in my position not taking the Fifth Amendment would be a fool, an absolute fool. One statement or answer that is ever so slightly off, just ever so slightly, by accident, by mistake, such as it was a sunny and beautiful day when actually it was slightly overcast, would be met by law enforcement at a level seldom seen in this country, because I've experienced it. The United States Constitution exists for this very purpose, and I will utilize it to the fullest extent and defend myself against this malicious attack by this administration, this Attorney General's office, and all other attacks on my family, my business, and our country. Accordingly, under the advice of my counsel and For all of the above reasons, I respectfully decline to answer the questions under the rights and privileges afforded to every citizen under the United States Constitution. This will be my answer to any further questions.
So, Mr. Trump, I take it you are not going to answer any questions about your preparation today with your counsel. Is that correct?
Should I say this, or should I respond to that? For all of the reasons provided in my answer, which is incorporated herein in its entirety, I decline to answer the question.
Mr. Trump, the focus of our investigation, and what we are primarily going to cover today, involves a presentation of your statements of financial condition between 2011 and the present. I take it you are generally familiar with those statements. Is that correct?
For all of the reasons provided in my answer, which is incorporated herein in its entirety, I decline to answer the question.
Did you review any of those statements from the period 2011 to 2021 during your preparation for today's testimony?
For all of the reasons provided in my answer, which is incorporated herein in its entirety, I decline to answer the question.
Now you know what pleading the fifth means in American TV shows. And it's important to understand freedom does not only mean that the rights given to people are equal. It provides you freedom in terms of achieving your full potential in whatever thing you want. It's because of a strong constitution that protects your rights. It's also because of a less social stigma and judgment. It's also because of its successful past in every possible domain of human life. And whether you want to be a great chef, whether you want to become a multi-billionaire in a single generation, or you want to identify as an LGBTQ person, however you want to dress up for that day, live the Dan Bilzerian lifestyle, live the country lifestyle with your own cattle and farms, or become the biggest social media influencer, or even become the greatest engineer. It's all up to you, and this is the true freedom that this nation provides. Now let's move on to the third and final value, which makes this nation, even after huge successes, grounded at the same time. It's the term "in God we trust." Rights under the US Constitution come from God and are based on the morals of Judeo-Christian values. The idea is that if rights come from another man, then those rights can be taken away at some point. It's also important to note that the US Constitution is not based on Christianity, but the moral values of it, which are very similar to the moral values of many other religions around the world. These moral values ensure the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they also act as ideals for people to aspire towards. While there has been a decline in holding all these three values today when compared to the US 20 to 30 years back, but US is still generally better than most other countries. Generally, I can prove to you that the American dream is still alive. Today, US has 40% of world's millionaires and 30% of world's billionaires. Big tech was born in the US and is today a global phenomena, from mobiles to apps to social media, from companies like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, and of course Google. In terms of tech innovation, companies like Nvidia, OpenAI, Neuralink, Tesla, SpaceX are leading the world. There are obviously other great nations too, like Canada, Australia, and parts of Europe, where people migrate from the East nations too. And to an extent, migration to these countries is easier too. But many times, even an immigrant to all those countries would want to live in the US or would want to send their kids to the US for studies or for work. For example, many people first go to Canada, become citizens there, and then come to the US for work and set up their life in the US later on. It's a hard truth, but it's the reality after all. It doesn't mean those nations are not great, but when evaluated across every aspect, including economic power, military strength, innovation and technology, cultural influence, global diplomacy, natural resources, diversity, entrepreneurial spirit, constitution, democracy, freedom, moral values, US is still the greatest of all the Western nations today. And now this does not mean that the US is the best choice for every immigrant. No, not at all. A great country comes with its own downsides. And for some people, those downsides matter more than the upsides. One of the biggest downsides of the US currently is its legal immigration process, especially for people in India and China. And that is why understanding visas is crucial and seeing if the US can be a right fit for your situation. We'll cover that in the next video, and I will see you there. Peace out.